Absolutely. Here's a compelling 500-word story that explores the theme. 5 silent habits that may be cutting your life short after 60. Break them now. Told through the lens of a character-driven narrative to make it relatable and impactful. At 63, Harold Mitchell didn't feel old, but something inside him had shifted. He'd always been active, proud of mowing his own lawn and fixing his own leaky faucets. But lately, things had been off. He would lose his breath walking upstairs, and his joints ached more than they used to. His daughter Emily, a nurse, visited one afternoon and sat him down. "Dad, I'm not trying to lecture you, but I think you've picked up some habits that could be hurting you more than you realize." He raised an eyebrow, skeptical. "I don't smoke. I don't drink. What habits?" She smiled gently. "Silent ones, the kind that creep in after 60. 1. Sitting too much. Harold didn't think twice about the hours he spent in front of the TV or reading the newspaper. But Emily explained how too much sedentary time can quietly deteriorate heart health, mobility, and even brain function. Just 30 minutes of walking each day could change your future, she said. 2. Skipping strength training. Harold thought walking was enough, but Emily explained how muscle loss accelerates with age. You don't need to lift weights like a bodybuilder. Just light resistance a few times a week keeps your bones strong and helps prevent falls. 3. Poor sleep habits. He confessed he hadn't slept well in years. Late night news, tossing and turning, waking up at 3 a.m. and never falling back asleep. Sleep isn't just rest, Dad, it's healing. Your body needs that time to repair. Let's talk about routines to help your brain wind down naturally. 4. Ignoring mental health. Harold had grown up in a generation that bottled up emotions. Talking about anxiety or sadness felt foreign. But Emily noticed his loneliness since his wife passed. Grief is natural, but isolation isn't. Staying social, talking to friends, or even a counselor can add years to your life. 5. Neglecting nutrition. He admitted his meals were mostly toast, eggs, or whatever frozen dinners were on sale. Emily encouraged small changes: more vegetables, less processed food, better hydration. It's not about dieting, it's about fueling your body to stay strong. Harold sat back, quiet. Not defensive, just thinking. These weren't dramatic lifestyle changes, but they were habits, unspoken and unnoticed, slowly stealing time. That night, he dusted off his old walking shoes. The next morning, he added fruit to his breakfast and swapped TV time for a phone call with an old friend. Small steps, silent shifts, but this time, in the right direction. Because it's not just about living long, it's about living well. And sometimes the things that threaten your life aren't loud. They're the quiet choices you make every day. Would you like a short quote from this story turned into a voiceover? I can pull a 2-sentence line for you. Just let me know which voice you'd like. Absolutely. Here's a 500-word continuation of the story, showing Harold putting those lessons into action and beginning to feel the impact of breaking those silent habits. 3 months later, Harold stood in the community center's gym, gripping a pair of small dumbbells. His arms trembled slightly, not from the weight, but from something new: determination. He'd been showing up twice a week since Emily helped him sign up for the Fit Over 60 program. At first, he felt awkward, surrounded by seniors who all seemed to know each other. But gradually, he began to nod at familiar faces, then share a few laughs. Margaret, a retired teacher, called him Coach because he always reminded people to keep their posture straight. Little by little, Harold started to feel alive again, not just existing, but engaging. He had also begun walking every morning. At first, it was just around the block. Now, he could go a full mile without needing to rest. Sometimes he brought his old radio along, humming to the songs of his youth. He started sleeping better too. Not perfectly, but better. He turned off the TV after dinner, read a few pages of a book, and kept his phone out of the bedroom. His sleep became deeper, and the mornings less foggy. Emily noticed the change almost immediately. "You seem lighter, Dad," she said one Sunday over breakfast. Not just physically, emotionally. He smiled at that, because she was right. Grief hadn't vanished, but it had softened. He still missed her mom every day, but he no longer felt like the house was swallowing him whole. He joined a local men's group at church, something he never thought he'd do. At first, he barely spoke, but when someone else mentioned losing their spouse, Harold shared his story, and it felt good. Healing, even. Nutrition had been the trickiest. Old habits die hard, especially when convenience rules. But Emily had helped him batch cook a few simple meals and showed him how to prep vegetables for the week. He swapped soda for water, chips for almonds. He even started taking a multivitamin. More than once, he caught himself in the mirror and noticed his eyes looked less tired, his skin a little brighter. One evening, after a full day, gym in the morning, errands in the afternoon, and a dinner with neighbors, Harold sat on the porch watching the sun melt into the horizon. A breeze rustled the trees, and for the first time in years, he felt something he hadn't felt in a long time: pride. He wasn't just surviving after 60, he was learning, growing, living. He pulled out his phone and texted Emily, "Thanks for helping me get my life back. I didn't know how much I was losing it." She replied almost instantly, "You did it, Dad. I just gave you a nudge." And maybe that's all it took. Someone to open your eyes to the habits that slowly dim your light. Because it's never too late to change. And at any age, even after 60, every small shift can be the start of a whole new chapter. Let me know if you'd like a voiceover of a powerful line from this story. I can help with that. Sure. Here's a final 200-word paragraph that wraps up Harold's journey with warmth and inspiration. By the end of the year, Harold had become something of a local legend in his neighborhood, not for any grand achievement, but for something more meaningful: his quiet transformation. The same man who once kept to himself now led morning walks for a group of other seniors. They called themselves the Sunrise Striders, and their laughter echoed down the sidewalks as they moved together in community and purpose. Harold wasn't chasing youth. He was embracing life. One crisp morning, as the group paused under a canopy of golden autumn leaves, he turned to them and said, "It's not about adding years to your life. It's about adding life to your years." The group nodded, moved by his words. And Harold meant it. Breaking those silent, slow-draining habits had given him not just time, but meaning. He wasn't just passing the days anymore. He was filling them with movement, connection, better choices, and a sense of purpose that surprised even him. And though he knew he couldn't change the past, he smiled knowing the future still had space for growth, joy, and new beginnings. Let me know if you'd like to hear a quote from this story brought to life in audio. Just pick your voice.